There I was, a fresh college graduate, stepping into the world full of dreams and aspirations. Like any young adult, I was buzzing with the anticipation of a promising future, full of possibilities. College days had been a whirlwind of exams, socializing, and grappling with the big question, what next? Life on campus was a pressure cooker, and like any other student, I was looking for a way to let off steam. A seemingly harmless habit began to take root: masturbation. It started off as a simple stress reliever, a momentary escape from the rigors of everyday academia. But before I knew it, this once harmless activity morphed into something more insidious, a compulsion, an addiction. Fast forward a bit, and I found myself stepping into the professional world, a promising tech startup to be precise. The job was everything I had dreamt of: good pay, great prospects. I felt like I was on the right track, that success was just a few steps away. But the pressures of the job were intense, the stress levels even more so than during my college days. Instead of seeking healthier stress management techniques, I fell back into old habits, except this time it was more frequent, more compulsive. This addiction began to seep into my professional life. Focus during crucial meetings began to wane, deadlines slipped by, responsibilities were neglected. My performance started to falter, and it didn't go unnoticed. Warnings came, but I was caught in a vicious cycle of stress and temporary relief. I couldn't break free. As the addiction grew, it began to isolate me. Social interactions became burdensome. I started to avoid my colleagues, friends, family, preferring the solitary comfort of my addiction. I missed out on networking opportunities, after-work gatherings, even important family events. My world began to shrink, confined to my addiction. As the days turned into months, I could see my life spiraling out of control, yet I was helpless. The consequences of my addiction were not just personal, they were professional too. My once promising career at the tech startup began to crumble. As the stress mounted, I found myself falling back into old habits. Instead of tackling the task at hand, I would retreat into my addiction. This behavior started to affect my performance at work, and it wasn't long before my bosses noticed. Meetings that used to be a breeze became a blur. Deadlines that were once a challenge became an impossibility. My focus was dwindling and my productivity was dropping. Warnings were issued, but they fell on deaf ears. The more stressed I felt, the more I turned to my addiction for relief. But relief is fleeting, and in its wake it left only more stress, more guilt, and more reasons to escape. As my addiction grew, it began to seep into every aspect of my life. I started to pull away from my colleagues, my friends, and even my family. Socializing felt like an uphill battle, and I found myself preferring the solitude of my addiction. Opportunities for networking, for bonding, for living simply passed me by. My world shrank, and all that was left was me and my addiction. Then came the day that served as a stark wake-up call. A significant promotion was up for grabs. It was a role that came with a substantial pay hike and stock options worth well over $100,000. But it wasn't meant for me. Instead, it went to a colleague who was less experienced but more dedicated, more focused, and more present. The day the promotion slipped away, I saw the real cost of my addiction. It was not just about the money I had lost, but the life I was missing out on, the opportunities I had squandered, the relationships I had neglected. It was a sobering realization that my addiction had cost me so much more than just $100,000. It had cost me my life as I knew it. It was a harsh reality check, but it was also the wake-up call I needed. I realized that it was time to face my addiction head-on and reclaim control over my life. The first step to recovery was acknowledging that I had a problem. This was not easy. It meant confronting the shame and guilt that I had buried deep within myself, but I knew that I couldn't let my pride stand in the way of my healing. So I sought help. I started therapy, which was a transformative experience. It provided a safe space for me to express my feelings, fears, and regrets. My therapist guided me towards understanding the root causes of my addiction and helped me develop healthier coping mechanisms for stress. I also joined support groups where I met people who were battling similar demons. Hearing their stories, their struggles, and their victories gave me hope. I was not alone in this fight. Their courage inspired me to push forward even on the darkest days. The road to recovery was not smooth. There were setbacks, relapses, and moments of self-doubt, but each hurdle I faced, each challenge I overcame made me stronger. I learned to forgive myself for my past mistakes and to focus on the progress I was making. As I started regaining control over my life, I also began rebuilding my professional reputation. I worked diligently, met my deadlines, and proved to my bosses that I was committed to my job. Slowly, I regained their trust and respect. Simultaneously, I made efforts to reconnect with friends and family. I apologized for my past behavior and made amends wherever I could. These relationships, which I had taken for granted, became a vital support system in my journey towards recovery. Every step towards recovery was a struggle, but it was a struggle worth fighting. I was not just reclaiming my life from addiction, but also rediscovering my self-worth, my potential, and my ability to contribute positively to the world. I was rebuilding myself from the ground up, stronger and more resilient than before. The journey was tough, the losses were heavy, but the lessons learned were invaluable. As I reflect on that period of my life, I can't help but think about the staggering amount of money and opportunities I squandered due to my addiction. A six-figure sum and a chance at professional growth, gone just like that. But what weighs even heavier on my mind is the realization of how much I lost in terms of personal relationships, time, and mental health. In the midst of the turmoil, I learned the vital importance of balance in work, in leisure, in personal relationships, and most importantly in self-care. It's a delicate act, like walking a tightrope. Lean too far to one side and you risk losing your footing and tumbling down, but maintain a steady pace, keep your focus, and you'll cross to the other side unscathed. Equally important is self-care. It's more than just spa days and bubble baths. It's about taking care of your mental health, acknowledging your emotions and giving yourself permission to rest. It's about setting boundaries and saying no when you need to. It's about treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you extend to others. And then there's the lesson of seeking help when you need it. It's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to ask for help. We all stumble, we all fall, but it's the getting back up that counts. And sometimes we need a helping hand to pull us back up. I learned the hard way that past mistakes can't be erased, but they can be lessons, stepping stones to a better future. Every stumble, every fall, every misstep has led me to where I am today. And while it's a place marked by past mistakes, it's also a place of growth, resilience, and newfound strength. Looking back, I realized the experience taught me more about life than any amount of money ever could. I learned about resilience, about the power of self-care, and about the importance of seeking help. I learned that while addiction might have shaped my past, it doesn't have to define my future. And that's a lesson worth more than any amount of money. Today I stand before you, not as a victim but as a survivor. If you're struggling, know that it's okay to seek help. You are more than your addiction. It doesn't have to define you. Reach out, speak up, let someone in. Seeking help isn't a sign of weakness, but a testament to your strength. Don't let your addiction cast a shadow over your life. Remember, it's never too late to change your story, to regain control, and to start living again.